Immigration continues to be a top issue for voters, according to polling. Trump has repeatedly referred to immigrants as subhumans, saying that they, quote, are not people at all, and that they're ruining our cities, taking from our social services, and that they are, quote, poisoning the blood of our country. More recently, Trump claimed that immigrants were hurting the country economically, too, that Democrats are, quote, in all caps, killing Social Security and Medicare by allowing the invasion of migrants. Well, for fact's sake, there's so much wrong with all of that. Let's start with easily debunking Trump's claim. Social Security is, in fact, at risk of running out as baby boomers enter retirement. The number of beneficiaries is far outpacing worker-aged contributors to Social Security. That's a trend that the agency and largely the world has been tracking and anticipating for decades. The agency currently estimates that without action from Congress, Social Security trust funds could be depleted by 2034. That's 10 years from now, and beneficiaries will begin to get 23% less per month than they get now. But the root of that problem, and that's for another discussion, has nothing to do with immigrants. In fact, data shows that immigrants are contributing Social Security taxes more than they are receiving benefits. A disproportionate number of people who immigrate to this country are of working age. Relatively few are children or elderly, and most immigrants, including experts, agree the majority of undocumented immigrants do pay taxes. This means that foreign-born residents are disproportionately workers who, in addition to driving our labor market, contribute to programs like Social Security and Medicare. A report from the Congressional Joint Economic Committee calculated that in 2019, immigrants paid nearly $492 billion in state, local, and federal taxes. But it's not just taxes and Social Security. People drive the economy. And the United States, like most major economies on the planet, is facing a rapidly aging population and rapidly slowing birth rates. That in itself is a major threat to economic prosperity in nations around the world. But the United States is actually faring relatively well. The International Monetary Fund released its major biennial report in January. The report looked at large advanced economies and showed that all the considered nations have faced similar economic hurdles of high inflation and high interest rates since the COVID-19 pandemic. But the United States is doing better than any other nation in the report. And the key factor cited over and over again by reports and analysts alike is high levels of immigration. According to that same report from the Joint Economic Committee, immigrants fill critical roles in our workforce. 22% of all workers in the U.S. food supply chain are foreign-born. And immigrants disproportionately work in key roles in our health system, making up 38% of home health aides, 29% of physicians, 23% of pharmacists. The report estimates that 75% of undocumented workers would be considered essential workers in America. For more on this, I'm joined by the Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter Caitlin Dickerson, who's a staff writer for The Atlantic, focusing on immigration. And Caitlin, you and I always want to have a little bit more of this conversation, but we're always jammed up by some stupidity in Congress or on the southern border that hijacks the conversation. So I think, let me just start with the basics here. You always talk about needing to distinguish between immigration policy and border security. They are not the same thing.
That's right. And you've even heard some Republicans in Congress start to acknowledge this, because tying the two things together really harms our economy. The reports that you just referred to, Allie, they reinforce stories that I've been hearing for years covering this debate, which is that within days of people crossing the southwest border, they tend to have jobs. They're working in food service, in agriculture, picking crops. They're doing childcare. They're cleaning. They're doing landscaping and construction. So that over the years has started to say to me that our debate, I think, is skewed, right? As Americans, we tend to talk about this group of individuals, immigrants, who want to come here, and should we let them in or shouldn't we sort of do them that favor? When in fact, the lived experiences of immigrants suggest that Americans are clamoring for their presence, whether we know it or not. And I think that's what's really key, is that we don't often see all the ways in which immigrant workers make our lives less expensive, more efficient. Growth happens more quickly and it's more affordable because of their presence. Now, that also has implications for safety, which we should talk about in the workplace. But just to set the record straight, Americans really are clamoring for immigrant labor, and it benefits our lives. And that's what these reports are telling us.
All right, you said let's talk about safety. Let's do it. The immigrant workers and actually undocumented immigrants are more likely to take on difficult and dangerous jobs in this country. According to the Department of Labor, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, foreign-born Hispanic or Latino workers make up about 8% of the workforce, but they account for 14% of work-related deaths. This is a 2021 number. We, in fact, just saw the death of 6 immigrant men who were working as night shift construction workers on the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore, which collapsed after it was hit by a cargo ship. They literally are doing jobs that people who have the ability not to do because they're a sort of a more advanced position in the economy choose not to do.
That's right. And I have to say, Ali, as soon as I saw that 6 construction workers were missing, I felt quite certain that they were probably going to be immigrant workers, because again, just having covered this issue as long as I have, I've heard from business owners all over the country, importantly, a lot of them in rural areas where their elected officials are Republicans, and they talk about how year after year they are not able to get Americans to do this really difficult labor that then on the other side I hear immigrant workers tell me they're so grateful for, because as was the case with these construction workers, they were not only supporting families in the United States with their wages, but some of them were sending significant funds back home to their home countries and supporting many other people in their extended families. And so this is a reality that we have to face. I mean, it's interesting. On Capitol Hill, there's this shadow debate that goes on. You will hear Democrats and Republicans acknowledge the need for immigrant workers, but there's a fear at the same time of losing those voters who fear open borders, for whom this idea of cracking down on immigrants really resonates. That group has actually grown as Donald Trump has grown in popularity, because his messaging has been so effective, even though it flies in the face of this research and this unequivocal analysis that we're talking about here. And so all that does is make Congress kick the can down the road even further, and it keeps these jobs, done by a shadow workforce, an immigrant workforce that don't have as many worker protections, and that's how you see injuries and deaths like the ones that we're talking about now.
Caitlin, you've been your messaging on this is pretty strong as well, and we appreciate that. Thank you very much. Caitlin Dickerson is a Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter and staff writer for The Atlantic. Hey, everyone. MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.